Hey, deep divers. You ready to jump into the future of making stuff?
Always.
Today we're talking decentralized manufacturing.
Specifically, how 3D printing and blockchain could, change the entire game.
Imagine this. You design a product, upload your design, and boom, it's 3D printed practically in your backyard.
Crazy, right?
That's the vision we're diving into today.
It gets pretty wild.
So, to kick things off, we're diving into a research article from 2018.
Yeah. Decentralized manufacturing. Global decentralized network. Directly connecting manufacturers, designers, and consumers.
Even though it's a few years old, it predicted some major shifts that are unfolding right now.
For sure.
So, paint me a picture.
Okay.
What did the manufacturing world look like back then?
So back in 2018, global competition was fierce. Growth was slowing down. And those traditional manufacturing models, they were starting to really feel the heat.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, we need to innovate. We need to shake things up. And that's where 3D printing struts onto the scene.
Okay, so 3D printing, we've all heard about it, but this research paper argues it's not just a fad. They saw it as something much bigger, right?
Absolutely. They predicted it would explode to almost $33 billion by 2023.
Wow.
That kind of growth, it gets investors drooling. It signals a real shift on the horizon.
Huge. So it sounds like 3D printing was poised to be a major disruptor, but I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing. There had to be some speed bumps along the way.
Oh, for sure. One of the biggest challenges back then was size limitations. Like most 3D printers just couldn't build those super large objects, which really limited what some industries could actually do with them.
Right, like no 3D printed cars just yet.
Not quite.
But what about the material itself? We always hear about 3D printing with plastic, but what about a metal bike frame? Can they do that yet?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And that's another roadblock they flagged. Material restrictions. Plastics and resins were, and in many ways still are, the go-to materials for 3D printing. Printing in metal, wood, concrete. It's happening. It's just the technology needs to catch up if it's really going to revolutionize manufacturing across the board.
Okay, so materials are a hurdle. What about the actual process? I can barely work my coffee maker. I can't imagine trying to operate some high-tech 3D printer.
Right.
It seems like you'd need some serious skill.
You're hitting the nail on the head. The need for specialized skills and software was another challenge they pointed out. It's a real barrier to entry for companies, especially, smaller companies, without the resources to invest in training or that expensive software.
So it's starting to feel like a bit of a tangled web here. We've got
Right.
size limits, material restrictions, the need for specialized skills, and I have a feeling there's more, right? What about the whole issue of intellectual property?
Yes.
If anyone can print anything, how do you protect designs?
You're thinking like a true deep diver, always asking the tough questions. And you're right, intellectual property is a huge concern in a world where designs can be so easily, replicated.
Okay, so we've got a whole bunch of challenges, but I'm assuming this is where this 3D chain idea comes into play, right?
Yeah.
It's their solution to making decentralized manufacturing actually work.
Precisely. And this is where the paper gets really exciting.
Right.
They propose this 3D chain, a decentralized network that acts like a global marketplace for 3D printing.
Okay.
So imagine a platform where designers, manufacturers, and consumers are all directly connected.
Wait, so you're telling me I could potentially upload a design, let's say, for a custom coffee cup holder for my bike, and someone nearby could print it for me?
Exactly.
That's wild. But how does it actually work? What's keeping everything secure and, making sure designs are protected?
That's where the magic of blockchain comes in. Remember, this paper was published in 2018. Blockchain was just starting to make waves.
Right.
They propose using blockchain to create a secure and transparent system for 3D printing.
Okay, I've heard a lot about blockchain, but to be honest, I'm still a little fuzzy on how it actually works. Can you break it down for me?
Absolutely. Imagine a giant, unhackable Google Doc that everyone can see, but no one can tamper with. That's kind of what blockchain is like.
Got it.
In the context of 3D chain, it acts as a digital ledger tracking everything. So you design, let's say, a cool new phone case. You upload it to 3D chain. Blockchain records and verifies your design, making sure you get credit, and buyers know they're getting the real deal, not some knockoff.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. It's like a digital fingerprint for your design. But let's get real. Besides sounding cool, what are the tangible benefits of this whole 3D chain thing? Why should our listeners care?
That's what we're going to unpack next. You're all about those tangible benefits, aren't you?
Always thinking practically.
And that's exactly what the authors of this article do so well. They break down the advantages of this whole 3D chain idea in a way that directly relates to what someone like you might want from decentralized manufacturing.
Perfect. Because I am definitely someone who loves a good practical breakdown. So what kind of advantages are we talking about here? What's in it for me, the consumer?
Well, first off, picture this.
Yeah.
You need a new phone case,
Right.
but you don't want just any case.
Right.
You want one that's like custom designed,
Okay.
maybe with a cool pattern or even your initials,
Yeah.
With 3D chain, that becomes not only possible, but potentially affordable.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I've always wanted to design my own phone case. But what about the waiting game? We order something online, and then it's weeks of waiting for it to arrive from who knows where. Does 3D chain change that at all?
Absolutely. One of the biggest advantages is faster production and delivery.
Okay.
Since production is decentralized and potentially happening much closer to you geographically, we're talking drastically reduced shipping times.
Okay, so faster, more customized. This is starting to sound pretty good. But let's be real. I have a feeling all this fancy tech and personalization doesn't come cheap.
That's where things get really interesting. The article argues that decentralized production can actually be more cost-efficient in the long run. By cutting out the middlemen, reducing transportation costs, and minimizing waste, the price of goods could actually go down.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Sustainable and potentially cheaper. This 3D chain idea is checking all the boxes. But it seems like this would be good for more than just my wallet. Are there environmental benefits too?
You're right on the money. It's not just about those individual benefits. This model could lead to more sustainable manufacturing overall, less waste due to, on-demand production, localized manufacturing, which reduces those transportation emissions. It's a win-win.
I'm really digging this idea of a more sustainable and efficient system, but I also can't help but wonder if we shift to this type of model, what happens to all the big manufacturing companies? What about jobs?
Those are great questions, and the article actually addresses that. They argue that this kind of levels the playing field, giving those smaller companies, even individual creators, a chance to compete. Imagine a world where you don't need a giant factory to manufacture your product, where you can just tap into this global network of 3D printers and bring your ideas to life.
It's a pretty exciting vision, right? A future where innovation isn't limited to these big corporations, where anyone with a good idea and a 3D design can become a maker. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. This article was published back in 2018. I'm curious, from your perspective, how has the reality of decentralized manufacturing lived up to the expectations laid out in this paper? Have we reached, 3D printing utopia yet?
Well, not quite utopia yet. While the vision they laid out was really insightful, the reality, as always, is a bit more complex.
Okay.
It's been 6 years since this paper was published. And while we've seen some significant advancements in 3D printing technology, a growing interest in those decentralized models, it hasn't been the overnight revolution the article might have implied.
Okay, so reality check time. What's holding things back? Are those roadblocks we talked about earlier, are they still an issue?
Exactly. Remember those limitations with size and materials?
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't magically disappeared.
Right.
While 3D printing technology has come a long way, it's still not at a point where it can completely replace mass production for every product.
So we're not all rocking custom designed 3D printed shoes just yet.
Not quite yet. The technology is incredible, but speed and, cost effectiveness still need work, especially if we're talking large-scale adoption across all industries. And the issue of materials is still a big one. We're getting better at 3D printing with different materials, but it's not as diverse or, always as high quality as traditional manufacturing.
That makes sense. It's not like we can just flip a switch and overhaul entire global supply chains overnight.
Yeah.
What about the whole blockchain angle? Is that playing out as the paper predicted? Is everyone using blockchain for their 3D printing needs?
That's another really good question. While blockchain has definitely gained traction in other sectors, its implementation in manufacturing has been a bit slower than some anticipated.
Yeah.
Integrating blockchain into existing systems, it's complex, and it can be very costly for a lot of companies. It's not a simple plug-and-play solution.
So it's not all sunshine and 3D printed roses then?
Exactly. But that doesn't mean the vision laid out in this paper is completely out of reach. It just highlights that, technological advancements are only one piece of the puzzle. We also need infrastructure development, workforce training, industry collaboration, and maybe even a shift in consumer mindset to fully embrace this new era of manufacturing.
It sounds like a complex web of factors that need to align for this to really take off. So, what does all of this mean for our deep divers who are now, thoroughly immersed in the world of decentralized manufacturing? What's the key takeaway here?
So we've talked about the exciting potential of decentralized manufacturing, but it sounds like there are still some serious hurdles to overcome. What does this mean for the average person? Should we, like, all go out and buy at-home 3D printers? Or is that still a ways off?
It really depends on what you're hoping to achieve, honestly.
Okay.
For like hobbyists and small-scale creators, those at-home 3D printers can be really amazing tools.
Yeah,
But for everyday consumers, it might be a while before it's as common as owning a microwave.
that makes sense. So it's not like we're all going to be printing our own clothes and furniture anytime soon.
Probably not. But the big takeaway here is that the future of manufacturing, it isn't an either situation.
Okay.
It's not about just replacing old technologies with new ones. It's more about finding the right tool for the job. Okay, I like that. So, it's not about picking a side, team 3D printing versus team traditional manufacturing.
Exactly. There will be times when, that mass production makes more sense.
Right.
And other instances where 3D printing and those decentralized models, they offer like significant advantages.
Yeah.
The key is to stay informed, keep an eye on how things are evolving, and just, be open to those new possibilities.
Yeah.
It's a really exciting time to be following this technology because it's changing so rapidly.
It really is. And I have a feeling our deep divers are going to be hooked on following this story as it continues to unfold.
Yeah.
But for those who are feeling inspired right now, what's one thing they can do to learn more about decentralized manufacturing or even like dip their toes into this world?
That's easy. There are so many online resources, everything from like maker communities to 3D design tutorials.
Cool.
You can even find local maker spaces where you can just try out 3D printing, for yourself. It's a really accessible technology.
I love that. It's not just some abstract concept. People can actually get hands-on and really experience it firsthand. Well, this has been an incredible journey into the world of decentralized manufacturing. Any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
If this deep dive sparked your interest, I encourage you to, look beyond the technology itself.
Okay.
Think about the societal impact. How could decentralized manufacturing change, the way we work, how we consume, how we interact with our communities? Something worth thinking about.
A future shaped not just by technology, but how we choose to use it. That's something to chew on, deep divers. As always, thanks for taking us to the depths of knowledge.
Happy to be here.
And to our amazing listeners, keep those questions coming because we'll keep diving deeper. Until next time.